commissioner and running for charter review commission as well.
Bud Miller, I'm chair of North Crest Neighborhood Association. Just
I'm Mellow and I'm not running for anything. I didn't know that this was a place where you could advertise you're running for office.
We are not.
I didn't ask them that.
What's your name?
I'm Mike Anderson. I live in the Fircrest neighborhood for 30 plus years, and I'm also the vice chair of the Clark County Commission on Aging.
I'm Jim Luce. I've lived in my neighborhood, Dubois Park, for 40 plus years. And I'm not running for anything except to stay in the good grace and Liz.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm Liz Luce, and we've been in our neighborhood 47 years, actually, in Dubois.
And I'm Barbara Stanley and I lived in that neighborhood too since 14.
I'm Dustin Forsman. I live in Cook Valley. I'm actually running for mayor. If that don't work, I'll run for the hill.
I'm Chris Alexander. I live on the coast of Palida and Salmon Creek.
Art Hanson, West Minnehaha Association.
I'm Phil, Clark County resident. Steve Perkle, I live in the Northwest neighborhood for 30 plus years.
Hi everyone, Diana Press. I am a city council member and I live on the east side of near the Fisherton Transit Center.
Hi everyone, William Cooley, the city's community engagement manager, and I live in Newburgh Bridge.
And I'm Ann McInerney Ogle. I live in Shumway. We have some individuals in the back. Go ahead.
Should we make the circle bigger?
Mary Bedford Carter. I'm in the Firecrest area.
Fircrest? Fircrest. Come and join us up here. We've got seats up here. Yeah, one here. Yep, city residents, come on in.
It's like church. They don't want to sit
Shy, don't be shy. Come on in. Go ahead.
Lori Arndt, that's Joe. We're neighborhood, Ridgeview Ridge Neighborhood Association co-chairs.
Okay, we got 2 seats right here. You guys want to sit together?
Okay.
And over in the
you don't have to.
corner, we have, I'm Kelly Ware with the Columbian. And then we have Heather Shavers, staff, Andrew staff, Becky and Sarah, and I think we have a bunch of officers and all sorts of folks, staff in the back room. Thank you so very much for joining us. I will remind candidates that this is not an opportunity for you to campaign. We are in a public facility, and by state law, you are not allowed to campaign on public property. So, there you go. So, let's start. Liz, Jim, how are the neighborhoods? What's going on up in your neck of the woods?
Couple of things. I'll let Liz do most of the speaking since she's better at it than I am. One thing that's going on is the homeless situation. I'm concerned that
But it's not in our neighborhood.
it's not directly in our neighborhood. What's in our neighborhood, thank you, is Dubois Park and the Tower Mall, and the proposal to build apartments. There are going to be apartments. We were told at the outset of this process for the Tower Mall that there would be a parking requirement for those who rented apartments. And it was to be, we thought, argued for 2 units, 2 parking places. The city granted 1.5, and now none. There's no parking required at all. And I think that's, I don't know exactly, I want to choose my words carefully. That is a betrayal in a very real sense of what the city and I believe our community agreed to regarding the apartments in the Tower Mall area. It's going to cause all sorts of problems in our neighborhood, potentially. People are going to want to park somewhere. We're close by, and I'm assuming, just assuming, that we will have an influx of people parking in the neighborhood. So, to talk about homeless too, I
so the 3 units, the 3 parcels that we're talking about are on Mill Plain.
Yes.
And that was one of the requirements from the state that allows, because that is on the bus rapid transit line.
I understand that.
Right. They will be building some parking, but you're right, we removed the minimum requirement for the parking, but they will have shared parking.
The earlier requirement that the city imposed in a review for the Tower Mall was reversed, and now there is no parking required. There may be parking available somewhere, but it's not required in the parking.
They will be building parking anyway. We just removed the minimum requirement. There will be parking there, but we removed the minimum.
Well, we're living in
So
some
like
suspense.
100 apartments will have like 15 parkings, and everybody else is stuck on the bus. That's pretty much how it works.
So I'm just gonna stop there, ma'am.
Okay.
The
Yes.
developer does have discretion.
Yes.
They can put more,
Yes.
correct?
But you are trying to phase out cars in Vancouver, would that be correct?
No, we are not.
Oh?
No, that's not true. Of course you are.
Then why are there so many less lanes for cars and more for bikes and buses, when the buses are empty every day?
Or walk one downtown?
Okay, let's go ahead and have a rule here and not interrupt each other. If we have one person talking, great, but we're not going to interrupt.
Okay, set the example.
I just did.
You haven't done that to me at meetings, so let's try tonight.
Carmen, I will tell you right now,
I'm telling
you are in a city community forum.
So are you?
And we have expressed those rules and regulations for protocols in those opportunities. So going back to the question, yes, developers can put in additional parking as they wish.
But that continues to Billy neighbor, Jim's neighborhood. And that's a continuing concern of all the neighborhoods, all the surrounding neighborhoods, and, you know, the additional traffic and parking and all that, and how that's going to affect us on a personal basis. I don't particularly see overflow parking going beyond the boundaries of the heights. When you look at, all due respect to Jim, and it is a legitimate concern, but nobody's gonna park in our neighborhood, Du Bois neighborhood, and then walk all the way back to those apartment buildings. But they could stash cars there. You know, the cars could be stashed and left. If they don't use them on a regular basis, there's no parking. What kind of mechanism would we have as neighborhoods to combat that? Cars parked 3, 4, 5 days. In the city code, it says 72 hours. It's partially enforced. So will there be additional mechanisms for our neighborhoods to be able to report and get action, have actionable steps taken to remove those cars once they've been there for 72 hours?
Brian Laposa, I know Jeremy Von Royce, the neighborhood police officer, is working with the chief on that problem. And do we have an update on the new software that they're using for abandoned vehicles or vehicles that are left?
I don't have an update on the software, but I know that they've been a lot more reactive. I've given them several instances where we've had parking, longer-term parking,
Yeah.
and they've acted very quickly on them. So my translation to that is they do have some better protocols in place for that.
So Glenn, going back to your question, remember when all the neighborhood associations filled out the form online? We can still do that for what seems to be abandoned cars or cars that have been left, so to speak. They're now asking you to go ahead and go online and fill that out or call 311 with that information. Now they have a case number. Now the case number actually puts the car on a map. So when the officers bring that up and they're in the area, they can look on the map to see if they have an abandoned car there, and they can tag it for towing.
Okay, that's the My Vancouver app. that is now
No.
translated to the city, is that correct?
Yeah, so the My Favorite Vancouver app is going away, but there is an online form the mayor's referring to. We can report that as well. And that goes directly to the traffic team for
Right.
BPD.
I think, isn't it under codes and covenants, or I mean, code enforcement?
No.
Well, parking, so just for the group's benefit, parking is enforced two ways in Vancouver. So in kind of the downtown core area around Historic Reserve, parking's done by our parking enforcement team. So those are the folks you'll see sometimes out there writing tickets and walking around. Outside of that area, parking falls onto BPD. And so oftentimes there'll be a number of police officers, other members of the department staff who are following up on those types of complaints. So filling them out online is one really helpful way, but as the mayor said, 311 is also really useful. And what we ask is, if you've called before, you still see a vehicle there 3 or 4 days later, call again or email your neighborhood police officer, because that's often the documentation that's needed to establish that it was there previously.
And that gives them the permission to tow.
Yes, ma'am. Just to that thing there, I have a car in my neighborhood, it's been sitting there almost a year that I turned in. So there's no follow-up on that, as far as I can tell.
So this new software went into effect, we're still in September, so the 1st of September. And what's the neighborhood association?
I'm in, oh gosh, what is it? Walnut Grove area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think,
And before you leave tonight, let's talk and we can make sure we follow up on it.
and we'll show you where it is, and we can actually help bring up the map to see.
It's been abandoned there since I think January. But I just wanted to ask a question about what he was talking about,
Sure.
Tower Mall. So my concern with that Tower Mall development, because it's gonna be a mixed use area, isn't it? So there's gonna be like stores and things there.
Oh, yes.
So the problem I see with that influx and that crowding of people and stuff and bringing in more people into Clark County, I think you're looking at 78,000, or wanting to house 78,000 more people
In 20
is,
years, yeah.
huh?
Yes, you're right, in 20 years.
Yeah, we don't have medical system for that, we don't have the schools for that. We only have 2 hospitals in Clark County, which is totally insufficient. Where would all these people go, like, to the schools? I mean, right across the street there, you've got the McLaughlin, junior high, whatever they call it now, I don't know. I mean, I lived up in the Heights in the 70s, I remember that old neighborhood and the Tower Mall. But my concern is, how are we gonna support all those people when we don't have any of that here? We don't even have, I mean, for getting into a doctor appointment, I actually have to wait till next year to get physical therapy. Next year. How are you gonna attract more doctors in a hospital to the area?
So it's, and Bart Hansen can help us with that. They're building as fast as they can, but you're absolutely right. When the previous county council set that number for the next 20 years, that was not our first choice. But that is all related to the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And so that's why staff has been working on that comprehensive plan for 2.5 years, and all the different pieces of it. How do we have concurrency on schools and hospitals and roads and sewer and water and all the different pieces to plan for that?
Yeah.
And those have been the questions that we have been working on. We can't dictate where the hospitals are.
Right.
But we've had conversations with Legacy and Peace Health and Kaiser and Vancouver Clinic, and what their strategic plans are to supplement just exactly what you're talking about. And so they are making their own plans on how to prepare for that.
Yeah, so with Legacy, and I had medical care there for quite a while, but they don't even have full-time general practitioners, I think it is, GP, primary care provider. They have part-time ones that come from Portland, so they don't even have full-time staff there. You know, and that definitely, that emergency room is too small, the parking lot is too small for it. I need that kind of care on a regular basis, and to have to wait for months and months to get in is just horrible. Well, and they have a monopoly. I mean, those, they haven't built, Kaiser hasn't built anything new in ages here. So that's another problem.
Let's hear from some people who haven't talked yet. Right, how are your neck of the woods over, your picnic was lovely, your bounce house and everything else turned out well, but what else is going on over there?
Well, we talked to the principal at Riverview Elementary, asked if there was any help that they thought they could use from our group. And
Going to that, when you had your coffee with the mayor and the new big grants were coming out.
And there's a trail that goes from the lower playground area in Riverview that goes over to Biddlewood Park through a wooded area. The trail is completely overgrown right now. However, apparently, if they have an emergency evacuation of that school, they have to take the kids to Biddlewood Park. That's their designated gathering area but to get there, they have to go out on the main street because that's the only way to get there.
But that's not the evacuation route.
But, so, we're looking into, could we gather some energy and some people and some help to try to clear that trail out so that it would be open. And then the principal also asked if we could figure out how to get it in a position where it was wheelchair access. So it would need to be paved or gravelled and pounded or something. But right now, it's all covered with brush and trees, and it's on private property.
No, it's on.
Partly state property and partly private property. And so we're working on, is there an easement, or, can we get permission to go out there, stuff like that?
It's always been there, and it's Department of Wildlife property, and I've been talking to Steve McCormick at Department of Wildlife, and he's like, oh yeah, I absolutely know about that. And I said, well, do you know it's the evacuation route? And he said, no. And I said, well, I said, who's maintaining that? And he said, oh, I'm gonna have to look into this. So maybe when the weather gets nicer, maybe we'll take some big clippers and go out and chop our way around to see what we can find. And maybe we can put together a grant, because they're gonna have to require that they have locked gate access to that path to keep everybody.
It won't be as simple as just a work party.
Yeah, it's.
You're talking about a half a mile worth of trees and shrubs that has to be cleared, and then it somehow has to be maintained, and it has to have a wheelchair accessible path through there, which no one remembers even what the path looks like. So it's an interesting project.
I would love to follow up with you on that.
Okay.
Okay,
And go
cool.
out and check out the trail.
It was
See
kind
what we
of
can-
something that I just asked this one question, and it's morphed into something way bigger than I expected.
This is the real work that goes on with neighborhood associations. We tried to clean up the graffiti in West Minnehaha, and it was, that's county property. Okay, go to the county. No, that's city property. And then you go to the city. That's BPA property. And then then it turned into Washington State Department of Transportation property. And after all that, then it goes, no, that's actually city parks, not city utilities. And you're like, okay, at this point, I just don't even care. I'm just gonna go paint over the graffiti.
That sounds like my kind of journey, only I managed to find a lady named Kathy at the Department of Engineering, I think it was, who was super helpful in getting me so I could look at the right parcel number, so I could look it up on the parcel finder for Clark County and get a little bit of background. So I mean, that's our new project.
All right, I guess one of my questions is, who established this as the emergency escape route to Biddle Park?
I believe it was Evergreen School District back in the day.
Wow.
And apparently it's been a joint community thing for years, but we've lived here 46 years, and although our kids went up and down that path, we didn't know it was the escape route ever, so.
I guess that's a good question, and it's been overgrown for more than 20 years. So it seems like someone should have looked into this before, but apparently didn't.
But there's a new principal, and she's full of energy, and she's a lot younger than me, so I'm.
Council Perez will take care of it. Let's go to the next one.
Well,
Okay.
Let's follow up and
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
work with you so we can look into it.
That'd be great.
Look into it.
We'd appreciate that.
You have my contact. Good. Steve, neighborhood?
Uh,
Your issue?
no, we finally got our speed bumps in our neighborhood on Lincoln. So that's slowed the traffic somewhat. So I think I've only seen 1 or 2 cars speeding down there, big trucks, because they can do it anyway and not worry about it. But, yeah, other than that, everything's going well in the Lincoln neighborhood.
Yeah, I was gonna take care, just a minute, Justin, I was gonna take care of neighborhood associations within the city, and I thought you were county.
About his comment. Curious, how long it take you to get those speed bumps put in?
It's probably about 10 years, but that's because the head of our neighborhood association didn't tell us the way we had to do it. And once we finally figured out how to do it, it went in fairly quick. We all got jealous that Bernie Drive got them. And we're like, well, how come they got them and we didn't?
Yeah.
And it turned out we weren't told the right thing. So.
There were other neighborhood associations, you're in the city?
I'm not. I am just outside.
Let's figure out the city, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm in Fircrest.
Right.
Something that I've seen that I think is quite a safety hazard, and I'm hearing about it from other neighborhoods like next door, is these, I'm gonna call them high-powered electric bikes and scooters that I know in Hagen Park and in our area, we've had some really close encounters by youth driving these things. They run 30, 35 miles an hour through the parks, down the sidewalks. The city is spending a lot of money on bike lanes. We've got seniors that have to use the sidewalks and that to get back and forth. But I haven't, and I talked with some of the MPOs with BPD, and I said, what are the rules? This seems to be a gray area. And they said, yeah, it really is. I've seen kids as young as 7 years old flying down the street on electric bikes, no helmets. I got into a near altercation with a person that just about ran down me and my wife right in front of Hagen. And there's a bike lane right next to us, and I'm wondering, why aren't people using the bike lanes? So I'm kind of wondering, is there something the city can advocate with the legislature to put more clear rules in the use of these bikes and scooters throughout the city? Because I'm hearing from many neighborhoods next door. It started around and started on the next door. So I've heard from about 5 or 6 other neighborhoods with the same complaints. And one of 2 things is going to happen. I'm a medic, and one of the things that can happen is one of these kids is going to do something stupid and get taken out by a car. Okay, and I've seen in another city, I saw what happens when a car needs scooter. It's not pretty. Okay. The other thing's going to happen is they're going to run into some elderly person, okay, and I'm sure that's none of us in here, okay, okay, that don't bounce as well as kids, and we're going to get seriously injured, okay, and then they're going to be all, you know what happens if a kid gets hurt in the neighborhood, okay, all kinds of things are going to happen. So I'm just wondering if, I'm not trying to put this on VPD, but if the city could do some type of promotional campaign about safety, could advocate with legislators about clarifying these rules. I mean, some of them look like little motocross bikes, okay? And they have no signals on them, of course they're not licensed. The kids are not, I swear to God, I haven't seen anyone over about 13, okay? And it's calm. I've had a talk with a parent, and I showed her my depressed skull fracture from a bike accident, said this will change your child's life and it will happen in a period of about 5 seconds, okay? So we need to do something.
Okay, so let's find an answer, either from one of our officers or Mr. LaPosa. We have something.
I totally agree. I mean, it is a gray area. I see this happening all the time. I remember growing up having dirt bikes, and we were never allowed to ride them on the roads, and these look just like them. So I think, yeah, we've got to figure something out, and this is good information that we'll go back to our teams and go.
I think it's the city of Richfield that has designed a ordinance around 20 miles an hour being the brake. So if the vehicle goes over 20 miles an hour, it has to stay on the road or in a bike. If it goes under, it can't be in bike paths or walking paths or something of that nature. But it'd be good to at least use that as a reference.
Well, that was the distinction I was just going to share. So we've had some questions come in through the Office of Neighborhoods also about e-bikes. And part of what kind of uncovered through that process in 2019, the state legislature created a new category. So the state refers to them as electric assisted bicycles. You know, we all kind of use that term e-bike or electric bike. But it created 3 different classifications for those bicycles, 2 of which are basically legal broadly, like on kind of all streets, one of which is more restricted and kind of can only be used on the roadway because it goes through faster speed. And so as we were kind of going through the city's code, there were 3 different areas where we recognized that there's potential for changes or improvements or clarifications. And so in very early conversations about what that would look like, but some of them go directly to what you were saying, Councilor Henson. So some of it is clarifying parks and trails, what's allowed, because the state legislature at that time created some carve-outs allowing for pretty broad use of electric bicycles on trails if they're paved. Then the 2 other areas were around kind of use of bike lanes and also our helmet statute. And that's an area where right now, we say that helmets are required for bicycles, but we don't say they're required for electric assisted bicycles. And so that's a very small change, but one that would be pretty easy to make.
Carmen, you had a city question.
Well, he has a question that
Yes,
matches. So
well, I'm gonna make a contribution to what we're talking about. I've actually lived in a different city where I was on the bicycle pedestrian advisory committee, so one thing we observed is, and I've observed it here, that, well, there's several things. One, that both drivers and bicyclists really aren't aware of what they're supposed to be doing on the street in a lot of cases. Drivers in a lot of cases aren't really observant that there are bicyclists where they are. We don't have bike lanes. They go connect from place to place, which is another problem. And that's being taken care of by complete streets. But in fact, we need to educate a bunch of people as to what they're supposed to be doing when they're riding a bicycle or when they're driving, when they're near bicycles.
I would say more education for the parents as well, because these kids aren't purchasing those bikes on their own, they're very expensive. And so starting where the purchases are happening, maybe there be,
Absolutely.
you know, some things that the kids have to go through, the understanding of what the bike is, the danger. And also giving them places for kids to have fun, because, you know, he mentioned motorcycle riding and all that. All of it's always taken away. What do we have for our kids and our teens out there? You know, they don't go to the kiddie parks anymore, so getting more involved in things for kids would be it.
Maybe a clarification on what you were talking about. A nice article in our community funded journalism on the Columbian would be helpful to kind of delineate that. It would get that out to a good amount of people.
Yeah. I'm looking at the closet, so are you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so like when I've gone from Texas to New Mexico, it's free. When I've gone to New Mexico, Arizona, free. Go to California, free. Why are we gonna need tolls to go from Washington to Oregon? We've already estimated $10 a day, both ways, $400 a month. That's not fair to people in this city or in Portland. What are cabbies supposed to do? What's Uber? Oh, we got you to here, extra $10 if you wanna go to Portland. So the idea of tolls is gonna break the entire economy of Washington, Oregon, if not even more. And like I'm saying, I've been to California, I get the Oregon-Washington border, do you have fruit? Nope. Welcome, there's no fee. So how can you justify charging people who are already being taxed out of their homes a fee to go to work every single day? I mean, we already have another solution, a third bridge, which lots of people have loved the idea, and it's already in process. They could make a canvas to Troutdale Bridge instead of ruining more of downtown, which I've seen everything on Main Street. They've taken out lanes and lanes of traffic, and I've been to New York, okay? I remember when Madison Square Garden, you could drive, you could drive, you could drive, you could drive. And then they cut off one spot. Now you can drive there, you can drive there, and you have to walking mall. But they're a city of 6 million. We're only not even 200,000. We don't need a walking mall. We need people to be able to get around in the freezing cold without slipping and falling, because we're all getting older. We don't wanna break a hip in the freezing rain. That's why I've talked about cities you can make the streets where they're anti-freeze. We can have a safe security, a safe community if you wanna invest. You've had, 2 terms or 3 terms, and how come things aren't solved? They're worse than when you started. So how can you ask for a 3rd term? You wanna keep making things worse?
I will remind you,
Okay,
this
no
is
more
not
politics. Okay, we're just gonna talk
You
about.
have
Wait.
a warning, and this is your second warning.
What is the warning?
And you're interrupting, Mayor.
You're in the wrong.
Excuse you.
You
sir.
interrupted her.
I'm facilitating
Yeah,
this
so I asked you to
conversation.
You're interrupting.
Carmen,
That's
I
on
will
you.
remind you
I'm
that
not
this
being
is your
reminded
second
that
warning.
you are,
Brings up
interrupting
light
me.
rail, we voted light rail down 3 times, why do you still want light rail?
Excuse you.
I don't mind sharing with
Hard
her.
Are you
question.
done with your?
Well, I
Hard
would like to
question for
know
the
why
mayor.
light rail when we only have less than 1,000 people writing it every day. I've written it, I've calculated, that's, the lowest grade, you can't even ask for fewer people. If I had about, I don't know, 15,000 people demanding it, I might listen, but when I have, what is it, since 1994, people saying we don't want it, and you're still pushing it.
That's right.
And the C-Tran board has been manipulated to be kind. You know, things gotta change, because people aren't gonna just keep funding what they can't afford. You know, we can't afford light rail, we're not gonna use it, the buses are empty, we can't afford tolls. Why is that pleasing to you? I mean, after 10 years, I mean, you know, presidents can only get 2 terms. Why do you want another? Go ahead, ma'am, it's your turn.
Ms. Dunn, go
Oh,
ahead.
yes. I would like to suggest that we institute a 1 minute per speaker. So that we would make
No.
our point. Or
No.
ask
It's supposed to be 3, it's usually
have
3.
No.
Maybe a minute, whatever is agreeable. But I think there should be.
Thank you for this suggestion, but let's continue with people who are living in the city. In the city, comment, any comment on the city?
Oh, he lives in the city.
Yeah, how you doing? Good to see you again. I got a couple different things here. Number one, the bike lane that's going down Fourth Lane is extremely dangerous. You've got a travel going both ways on one side of the road. So if somebody's going to turn onto Fourth Lane, they don't look the other way. I've seen 3 accidents now down there where people have gotten hurt on their bicycles because they're not expecting the car to pull out that direction or turn in front of them when they're coming the other direction, right? So I would switch that if you're gonna keep that the way it is. Put the bike lane that's appropriate for going the right direction on the right side of the road, not 2 lanes on one side of the road, number one. Number two, back to tolls. People are already getting told, living here in Vancouver as a veteran community, to go to work in Oregon. Then they're getting a double tax. You've got state income tax in Oregon, right? So adding a $10 toll, that'd be $20,800 a year per employee that lives in Washington and works in Oregon. How is that gonna work for the people here in this community? I mean, most elderly people that I know that have lost a spouse are barely getting by right now with the taxes that they're paying. They can't afford another tax increase or a sales tax, as you put it, to help pay for the interstate bridge. So we've got to figure out something different here. It's not working, and I don't think that the bridge is gonna make any improvements. Greg Johnson himself said it's gonna make a 1.5 minute increase in time to go to Portland, because it's gonna be the same 3 lanes. It's gonna be no different. 3 lanes now, 3 lanes then, for $10 million. And there's just so many things wrong with what's going on here. So many things wrong. And I don't wanna beat a dead horse to death here, but this is my night to come to the city council and speak publicly. And I don't know why these meetings are always on the night that the public gets to come to the city council. It should be on CCTV, so we're just not speaking to the room like we are tonight. So people can hear the concerns of their citizens, right? And for you guys to take away, except for Perez and Bart Hansen, take my freedom of speech away, it's not a compromise. And that's what Kim Harless said. My freedom of speech is a compromise. It's not a compromise. And I told her, as a Chicano woman and an Indian, you should know what discrimination feels like, period. and it's discriminating. And we've got a Public Meetings Act in the state of Washington that clearly states that I get to voice my opinion no matter what it is at any of your public meetings, any day of the month. And no other place that I've gone to in the state of Washington, South Dakota, I spoke in Utah, I spoke in Montana and Idaho at their public meetings, and not one of those places denied me, even as a visitor, in exactly last week at Longview, Kelso. And by the way, you're gonna have more homeless because they're shutting their homeless program down, because it doesn't work. It's a hamster wheel of nothing except for wasted tax money. Have I been denied my public speaking? And for living in this community for 60 years of my life, my entire life, and seeing what my dad has been a pillar of this community, it just absolutely aggravates me to my core that I cannot come into your forum and publicly speak and not have my words spoken on CCTV when you apparently are more important than me as a public speaker, because you're supposed to be working for the public, and that's us, right? And the other thing is, Eric LeBrant, your comments on Facebook are disgusting about Charlie Kirk, and so are all your followers, and for you to encourage your son to go down, I'm talking right now.
You're mayor. You're mayor.
I'm talking, and for you to encourage your son to go down and protest at the ICE building is retarded, and you should not be a politician. That's what I have to say.
How many illegal immigrants are you housing here, Mayor Ann? How many illegal immigrants? For your sanctuary city.
Ground rules. Can we all agree to ground rules? I'm gonna go around the table.
Yeah, like-
Shake your head if you agree to ground rules.
Like not
Thank
interrupting?
you. Ground rules.
Employees.
All right? One, not interrupting. Two, we're respectful in our tone. We do not get up and have volatile behavior that we just saw. Three,
Here.
It's our right.
breaks
It's
order
protected
in the room.
free speech.
Volatility is.
Yes,
is-
you can be volatile.
Nobody
Let's
was
have a
in
safe
trouble
space
here,
for people
ma'am.
to talk.
Nobody had a problem
I'm
with him talking.
Let me talk.
Nobody had a problem with
I'd
him
like to
talking.
hear him say more.
So who would like to speak next? With those ground rules in mind, and let me tell you, please be respectful to each other. Okay, that's it. That's all we ask.
And we ask the same.
That's your turn.
Yeah, we want the same.
We can all agree to that, yes?
They don't like what we say.
I've been
Okay,
interrupted
thank
twice
you.
now by her.
All right.
Diana.
Mayor, who was the first little question?
And everybody.
Justin was.
Everybody.
All right, Justin, and then after Justin?
Hold on just a
Yes,
second.
go ahead.
As the moderator,
Yes.
we had said that the city residents would go first.
Okay, gotcha,
So
sorry.
I was in the
There-
hallway. I
All
didn't
right.
hear that. I came in.
All right,
Yeah.
neighborhoods, raise your hand.
Are there
Neighborhoods.
any other neighborhoods that haven't spoken yet?
The neighborhood organization is a social event.
Respectful
The
and
real people
dignity.
don't know anything about those neighborhood
Ms.
associations.
Elbon, as
Respect
the
and
moderator, we're asking you to follow the rules. Mr. LeBron, go ahead.
Wanted to invite folks to check out the new playground in Fruit Valley.
Oh, it's beautiful. We saw it. Yeah.
Something like.
There's a water feature for kids to splash around. You know how it is with kids in water. It's like magnets. It's accessible for kids that are like wheelchair, that kind of thing. But it's a ton of fun. If you haven't been over to Fruit Valley lately, it's, I think, still the poorest neighborhood in Vancouver, maybe tied with Rose Village, but you'd never know by going there. It's a hidden gem. I've lived there since 2009 and love it. And I'll throw out there on the ground rules discussion that one of the things that we've instituted in our neighborhood association meetings is the importance of kind of the taking of turns and the limiting our own comments somewhat, so that everyone has a chance to chip in here, because we're all taking time out of our evening to be here, like volunteering to be here. I don't, if we're not city staff, we're all here, not getting paid to be here.
I thought city employees get paid per meeting.
City employees get paid, but those of us who are who are
Do you
just
get-
here from the neighborhoods.
Do you get paid for this meeting? I'm just asking.
No,
'Cause
I'm-
do you
I'm
get
just
paid
here.
for Labor Roundtable?
I do.
You do, okay. I read about some of that, so I was curious.
Mhm.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah, but we're, like, there's a lot of folks here just because we care about what's happening in our community, and I think it's important that we each individually show enough restraint that everyone gets a chance to kind of share and chip in, because we're all, like,
Is that on Fruit Valley Road, just north of, what, Mill Plain?
yeah. Yeah, so it's next to, it's on Fruit Valley, the new playground is on, it's in Fruit Valley Park, it's on Fruit Valley Road. If you go all the way down 4th Plain west, like you're headed toward Vancouver Lake, but you hang right there on Fruit Valley Road. It's a lovely park. We do movies in the park every summer, and we have just a wonderful, warm, inviting community. And what I've told folks about Fruit Valley is similar to my story. I moved to Fruit Valley because it was all I could afford, thinking like, okay, that's what I can manage, and found it to be a really welcoming, friendly community. The elementary school is like its own little family kind of thing. So if you haven't been down that way, you're invited to come visit Fruit Valley. Vancouver Lake, we've got all sorts of fun stuff.
So the other inclusive part would be Oak Brook, and then of course Esther Shore. Yes?
I could contribute of bringing up the issue that has been bringing people together in South Cliff. And I know you've been very responsive on that. But just to let other people know, in the current EIS that the city is working on, we South Cliff residents noted that under the new planning, there would be additional densification on some of our streets that we didn't expect, because we live in an historic neighborhood of single family homes, etc. And we were surprised to see that perhaps even commercial establishments would be allowed. And so we had a big meeting, we came together, more people came than I think I've ever seen at any other neighborhood association meeting. And we were all given the ability, of course, to make comments, and many of us made many comments, and hundreds of comments, I'm sure, came in, and the city has been very responsive. And I hope that they will follow through. But the big legal question is, our CCNRs, our restrictions, require single family only. Now, will this hold up? Is this the prevailing legal right? And that will be decided later.
Right.
But it's an interesting issue, yeah.
So, and we have our attorney out there. Could you ask Becky to come on in? Becky, you want to come on in and talk about CCNRs versus state rules and regulations and RCWs? Who has authority and how CCNRs work, especially on the rezones and such?
Sure, I can obviously speak generally, not giving anyone actual legal advice, but the city and its comp plan is evaluating the zoning and use requirements imposed by the Growth Management Act, and that's a different legal inquiry and path than private covenants. And so the city itself does not get involved in reviewing or enforcing private covenants. So if it overlays a zone or a use that a private covenant doesn't support, then the private people the parties to that can enforce the private covenant unless it's controverted by state law. So there's some complications in state law where things like racially restrictive covenants that have been illegal since 1969 still exist in documents. They're not enforceable, but that's a state regulation. And there's some density restrictions in covenants that new covenants under state law would not be enforceable. But again, it's more of a state level versus private contractor, and the city. To the extent the city we also do look at things like overlays of, obviously, things like critical areas and wetlands, and what that limits, even though we might have a zoning or a use profile for an area, not all of the land in that area can be developed in that way because of things like critical areas or pre-existing development. So lots of layers on the
Yes.
comp plan.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Lenya, comment on this topic?
Just a quick question, so we're talking about CCRs. Our neighborhood has a covenant. It's not a homeowners association, it's a neighborhood association. The covenant covers the properties within our neighborhood. And some of those properties fall within the Heights redevelopment. They are within our covenants of the neighborhood, restricted to single-family homes. Now, this is just a question, can the city override that?
Okay, so I'm not gonna answer that question as from a legal perspective, you would need to consult with an attorney on that, but the city doesn't, city doesn't determine the validity or invalidity of private covenants or a CCNR. So the city could overlay a higher density zoning, and then when a property owner went in to develop that, the private covenant could restrict them from doing that. The city does not, a court of law would interpret the binding nature of the covenant of the CCNR and the enforceability of it. The city, in its regulatory capacity, doesn't look at that.
That's basically my understanding of it.
Okay.
So Glenn, the neighborhood association, not the city neighborhood association, because they have no legal authority. But if the CCNR was a homeowners association, they would have to hold that property owner responsible and take it to court.
But the covenants run with the neighborhood. It's not a homeowners, but there are neighborhood covenants. When it was first developed, it's got a whole page of this can go there, not this, not the other thing on these lots.
So if they were written by the city,
I'm not sure who they were written by.
I think there you go. That's what you'll need to find out.
We have to go back, I don't know how we even research that.
Would it be in the titles?
Yeah, we'll work with the title company to do research would be a good starting place. Because you can do some research on the flood plain property records, but they only go back to 1961. So if some of these are a lot older than that, so you might have to look at the title and make a title report and get the underlying documents.
I don't see it becoming an issue, but.
Are there any other city residential comments or questions that haven't talked yet? Yes.
So Smith, you know where Smith Towers is,
Yes.
in Washington. So the neighbors that live there are older and they have a physical disability. And they've had this concern that they have difficulties getting across the street, that the cars are coming in too fast, turning, and there's been apparently multiple incidences on that road. And I said I would bring it up, so I wasn't sure if there was.
I've been at meetings before where that has been brought up.
Okay.
So you're talking westbound on 6 as they're turning south on Columbia.
Is it Columbia? Yeah, I thought it was
Washington.
Washington, that's right, yeah. And they're older, and again, they have disabilities. You've got folks in wheelchair.
Yeah, Ryan?
I've heard this before. We're looking at making changes to a lot of our intersections where we're adding in, letting the pedestrian signal go before the green light goes. We call it, just an advance, it's a head start.
Right.
And so I don't believe we have that particular feature at that intersection, so I'm looking to see if we can add that. That will, give them the ability to cross the street a little bit, in a little bit of a safer manner. We are also just looking at the overall speeds of traffic in and around downtown and whether or not we need to make some changes there. But yes, I've been made aware of that one.
All right, thanks.
Trying to figure out what we can do to improve things.
Can I make a suggestion? So there's a lot of developments and buildings that are like that house elderly or disabled people or just even in general, community members that have very busy lives that can't get to your meetings, but is there a way that a council member can, you know, on a rotation, be able to go to, like, for instance, just Smith Tower, for example, and be able to listen to the citizens that are there that can't voice it? Many of them probably can't even get on a computer to even log in to figure out how to voice their thoughts or ask questions. I think there's a lot of community members out there that feel unheard or feel lack of being able to speak. And that could be for a variety of different reasons. And I also feel that in this room. And, you know, I feel that some people are attacked in general, and I don't think it's fair. I think that even if you have troubles with a couple people or a couple people, that I think you should do your best to always listen to them and respect them. Because there's been disrespect, and I think that's where their anger comes out. And I really think that as a whole in our community, they should be respected just like me speaking or the next guy. And they might have different things that go on in their lives, or they might have a different mental challenge, or they might not, you know, just whatever it may be. I sometimes can't articulate exactly what I wanna say. It doesn't come out how I wanna say it. And I feel like all of us should be heard. And when you read on different forums and the next door and all these different things, and everybody's trying to say something, but they feel like, well, why would I go to that? I'm not listened to, or why would I show up to that meeting? And it is true, you're not listened to. And when you come to speak and talk right here, and these are the only people hearing it,
Yeah.
are we guaranteed that these people take it somewhere else? It's, as a community, we need to do better. I just really believe we do.
So going back to your first question, yes, we have met, and we have been invited and we attend Smith Tower. And so we have sat with those residents and the management, especially when they were stuck with a remodel expense and they needed to have some additional help with the federal government on that. And you know, that Ed's whole comment,
Yeah.
I had shared that with you before, so we did go, and we did spend time together. The city councilors do go out, and that is when we're invited and we show up at 71 different neighborhood associations, and those opportunities to sit and attend and be with them. We have 9 different business or group associations that we also attend on a monthly or every 2 months opportunity. I think any time that the Vancouver City Council members have been invited to anything, we try our best to get out there. Now, we're also invited to 177 different nonprofits, but those are fundraising opportunities, and that would mean that we would need to pay the $150 tickets, because that cannot come from the city. So we would have to pay for our tickets out of our own family budgets. So whenever we have been invited, we're out and about. Picnics and cleanups and neighborhood meetings and cornhole tournaments and everything else. Yes. Oh, just hang on just a second. Did we finish anyone who from the city has not had a chance to talk? City, let's finish city though. Justin?
Yeah, so there are some good points that a lot of people brought up. In regards to traffic, I think that we see a lot of street racing that's been happening here in the city. I live in the Fruit Valley district, and they're in warehouses, like parking lots, routinely on certain days of the night, like Saturdays, Sundays, there's street racing that's happening. It's happening in neighborhoods, it's happening in intersections. I can hear them going for hours, call, 311. It continues. And so I think that that's something that we should use resources from VPD to sit on nights that we know that it's going to occur. And we should stop some of this, because I think we see a lot of violent crime happen. I think we see a lot of onlookers get hurt. But just neighbors in general, it's very scary to hear the tires screeching at long hours of the night into like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's a concern that I have. But to go off of what Bruce Barnes was saying before he left, this is a great forum. I think it's great. It's out of the box, but it should be recorded. I think people should be able to go back and reference this conversation and see what our concerns are. And so this should be recorded. And this should be a supplement to citizen forums. I don't hear the councilors talking about bringing back citizen forums, and that is an issue a lot of citizens have. They want these forums brought back. But this would be a great addition, but it should be televised. And then one other thing that I'll address is when I learned about this IBR project, I'm concerned that some of the issues that we say that we're gonna replace the I-5 bridge for, like the I-5 bridge will not survive an earthquake. Well, this current IBR proposal is not being built to the standard to withstand that same type of seismic activity. So that's a concern that I have, is it might be under false pretenses. And then also the voters are expressing time and time again that they're not in favor of light rail, but yet we're pushing very hard for light rail. I see that high density housing surrounding the area where the IBR is crucial, that that light rail comes in for some of these rezoning to take place. I'm worried about that, and I'm worried about the tolls. We're being taxed to the point where we can't pay our bills, and now we're being faced with possible $20 a day onto our commute. The IBR is very problematic. And if you look at the plan that they have on the east side of Vancouver, like 192nd, Troutdale, there's and Camas, there's a few different proposed areas. I believe it was proposed at about $1 billion for that project. That would actually reduce congestion, because it's going to take the traffic from the east side of Vancouver, Camas, Washougal, Troutdale, Wood Village, all these areas. It's going to take away from the 84. It's going to take away from 205. It's going to take away from I-5. Why aren't we taking this seriously? I've looked at the studies that David Madore has. It's a smart plan. And so there's all this need to replace the I-5 when we can reinforce that, and we can look at options for a third bridge first and then focus on I-5. So I'm just curious, why are the city council members not focusing on this? Because it seems like a no-brainer to me.
They've already spent a lot of money, current tax dollars for it.
Well, Ed Barnes has been, he's the beginner of it all. And I've went through and had boxes and boxes of paperwork on it. Seems like the same stuff. And we're how many years later? It's interesting.
But
He's
you're
still
spending
he
your
still
hard
votes
tax
for it.
dollars.
They
Don't
are.
forget.
Okay, so any other city that hasn't spoken? City?
Yeah, well, my address is Vancouver, Washington, so that counts, right?
Not necessarily.
No, is
You're in
it
the-
downtown area or?
GTA.
Okay, I'm in
You're
Cascade Park.
downtown.
Yeah, you're in the city.
Okay, yeah. Well, I tried to get some police body cam footage through a request, and I was told it would be like 2027 when I can get access to that. They want to charge 73 cents per minute to make redactions to those videos. Well, we already own those videos. We've paid for them to be created and maintained. Everything is already paid for by us. And then I go on Facebook and I see Vancouver Police Department has body cam footage from 9 days ago showing what a good job they're doing, but why can they get access in 9 days? And I'm told nearly 2 years that I can't get it as a citizen. It seems wrong. I don't know, there's no transparency there. Like,
So it does depend on what you're asking for.
okay,
And I'm sure you're aware of all of the state RCWs that require them to redact certain.
like 42.56.
Good, so
Yeah.
you know all of that. So what it does mean is that a person is hired to sit
Sure.
and watch.
Right, they're hired by the city, paid by our taxes. So we've already paid them to do this job, and then they want to put an additional fee on top of the paycheck that we've paid them. So that's wrong.
Actually, they are not paid to sit there for that sole purpose. Those are public police service technicians and others
Okay.
that collect evidence and such, but it requires additional services to sit and watch and redact.
Right, well, I would prefer to get the unredacted video. I don't want it redacted. So they want to charge me for a service I don't want.
Well, you may
It's
not
all
want it,
public
but
info.
we're required to redact
Sure.
body
And
and children's faces.
Sure.
And some domestic violence things, so
Right.
we cannot give raw data. So to
I
speak.
understand that, but that person that is doing that, whatever person is doing it, they're already being paid.
That's right.
They're being paid to do a job, and, you know, whoever you want to assign it to, the janitor, fine, pay him, let him do it. Let somebody can get it done.
They're specially trained for that. Let's go to some individuals that we've not heard from the county or such. Comments? Go ahead.
Oh, well, I live in Ferncrest.
Welcome, neighbor.
Thank you. Yeah, so, one of the things that I notice is, it seems like I don't know if it's the city or if it's volunteers that are cleaning up right at that 205 exit where a lot of the houseless are. They clean up and they come back. It seems the houseless situation has certainly gotten worse since I've been here for the 5 years that I've been here. And I don't know, if organizations, like Outside In or whoever are running these tiny shelters, if they're coordinating with other cities or other states to see, what can be done to try to mitigate some of that. I know I work in Portland, so I'm paying those fees to go across that bridge. I know they don't seem to be very successful. I know they've opened some behavior health sites and stuff, but I just don't know, I'm not really that connected with, what is happening here in Vancouver with respect to.
So we happen to have Tyler Chambers from our HEART team here that can answer some of that. Could you rephrase your question for Tyler so he knows?
Just kind of what is being done, the houseless situation is just seemingly getting worse, and I know that like when I first moved here, it appeared that when Portland does a sweep, then the houses come over that 205 walkway and come right up at Mill Plain and just start camping out there, and then they clean up, and then they move across the street, and, So I don't know what is being done as far as, trying to mitigate the problem, trying to work with the houseless, it's a lot of mental health stuff. And I don't know if there's any programs in place that are really being successful. I do believe that Outside In, the first tiny shelter that they did, it appeared to be successful, and they have another couple now, but, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, how wildly successful as far as those in particular.
Speak louder.
Yeah, sorry. I'll bullet point some of this just because there's a lot in there. Is 205 interchange of state property. The city does not have jurisdiction over the state. The state maintains jurisdiction over the property for enforcement, cleanup, maintenance, how they want to address the homeless issue on their properties, even in the city of Vancouver. Thankfully, we enjoy a very nice relationship with WashDOT, and so what we end up doing is our homeless assistance resource team is the outreach and engagement person, and going out and actually meeting the people where they're at in an effort to connect them with basic services, shelter, housing, wherever we can. While I say that those safe stays are successful in and of themselves as a program, everything across the board is resource scarce. So there are still more people becoming homeless each year than there are people exiting homelessness, and that's why we see the numbers growing outside. As a government, at the city level, we're doing what the city can do. The county has responsibilities in this, as well as the state and federal government. Of course, there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Not to mention, the mental health piece, substance use, poverty, job restriction, the whole to the piece of the puzzle, but, what we really try to do is meet each individual where they're at, find out what led to, at least what they believe led to becoming homeless, and or why they persist in homeless, and those can be two different things. And then work through those barriers with people. So we're trying to take a reservoir and turn it into a river and get people moving through up and out and back off the street. Specifically the 205 and Mill Plain area, because even the state knows it's not safe to have people that close to motorists on freeways and, you know, crossing the roadways and everything. They are doing more kind of camp sweeps, for lack of better words. It disrupts or destabilizes some of those camps. It's not necessarily the best strategy because we're trying to stabilize people. We're trying to give them a home base to work from so they can move up and out. If they're constantly getting moved around, it makes that job harder. But we're certainly not competing in that area. But that's part of the process is just movement so they're not on that property, clean up the trash. It takes a while before, you know, 1, 2, 3 start coming back. I will say on your comment about Portland, we do not experience, back when they hit the Springwater corridor a number of years ago, Vancouver, Clark County braced themselves. We really thought we're gonna see 1,000 people come north, but frankly, the river is the Great Divide. We do share some folks back and forth who experience homelessness, but not to the degree that most people think. The vast majority of folks that are in Vancouver who are experiencing homelessness are from Vancouver or from Clark County or beyond within the state of Washington. There's far less that are actually from Oregon or other states here, the city limits anyhow. So the other thing that WashDOT does is it partners with us, like with one of our safe stay locations, is actually on WashDOT property. I think it's Village. And then they actually have some dollars that they use to help offset our time when we're out doing the outreach engagement on their properties. To focus there, our police officers are out doing enforcement in that space. And I know this meeting was scheduled for tonight. It was coincidence that today was also the day I heard from the state. They've been working on piloting some trespassing on their properties, which is something they're reluctant to do, just for a lot of different reasons, mostly attorneys would be able to talk to that. To trespass people from public property for cause means utilizing more law enforcement to address a low-level issue with an already, you know, resource-strapped, constraint there. So they are looking at discouraging folks from even coming back to those properties by utilizing signage and enforcement. And so people say, well, where would they go? They'll go to safer public property than along our freeway systems. Frankly, it's often in places it's much easier for us to reach them, where we can then provide for health and sanitation where they're at and then engage with them around the outreach. Last piece I would say is, well, what about those who don't engage? What about those who don't want to, whatever? They get cited into our community court. It's kind of a last ditch effort. It's a therapeutic court. It's like saying DUI court or veterans court or mental health court. It's a place where they can actually work the charge off, and they're expected to do really tough things like engage with the services that will get them to shut their house. And so it's kind of a trade-off where most of the people walk in the door saying, this is the dumbest thing ever. I can't believe I'm getting arrested for being homeless. 6 weeks later, they're walking out and graduating saying, I wish everybody knew about this program. And they're like, well, I'm trying to be working with you out there before you get cited. If that doesn't work, they end up back in district court where it is punitive. And those were the folks that end up with warrants and basically back to the traditional jail system where they do actually get mental health. And, it's not the best way to do it, but it's just the varying levels of kind of sifting through all the available resources that we can bring to someone to offer them and engage volunteers.
Kimberly, did you have a question?
I do actually. I'll take my 3 minutes. Thank you very much. I am Kimberly Elvin. I actually was born here in Vancouver, and I have children and grandchildren that live here. I live in the center of where my mother was born. Speaking of Tyler here, are you still a police officer or a security?
I retired.
You retired. On October 24th, and I'm going to ask people to watch this, on October 24th of 2022, at the last 10 minutes of a Vancouver City Council meeting, of which I've been attending for years now, this man, at the request of the mayor, came up behind me, grabbed me, and hauled me out of chambers for speaking my First Amendment rights. That's all I'll say about that. God bless you in your new job. I also did file with an attorney, Angus Lee. He took it pro bono, and filed a $500,000 lawsuit. It's still here on record that somebody got to my attorney and shut me down, or we would have had our open public comments intact. Because after that moment, this council figured out how to take your First Amendment rights away, but still follow the law under a forum here, folks. We can't deny, well, we are meeting here, right? But nobody knows all of our issues. Nobody knows about October 24th of 22, the last 10 minutes, watch it. It was illegal what she did, and she needs to go. This, by the way, is Mr. Forsman. He is running against the mayor. And thank you very much for that. It's actually not illegal. You're not in a regular council meeting, and you're interrupting me, so I'm gonna take my other 2 minutes. She likes to do this. She actually kicks me out of the meetings because I open up and speak my rights. And if we don't stand now, when? So we're gonna stand up against this tyranny. For one thing, how many illegal immigrants, I still have 2 minutes, how many illegal immigrants are here that you harbor at our hard-earned tax dollars? Number 2, at the mayoral candidate forum held last week, the Vancouver mayor lied and said she welcomes the public to attend weekly council meetings, but for 4 years ago, took the people's open public comments out of the agenda, replacing it with a community forum that not only isn't recorded, but that the weekly agenda meeting on CBTV. So it's not recorded for others, as Justin pointed out, to watch. But the public must wait after the end of the regular meeting to speak. So you, the people, have to wait now. Because she doesn't really want to hear from you. She lied. Meeting at this speak and their concerns, so you don't hear their concerns, but again, isn't a part of the meeting, but it is audio recorded. She likes to put that in. We audio record it. Well, I don't know where to find it. And then, after CBTV stops the regular meeting and videotaping to satisfy the Public Meeting Act, at this forum also, I'm gonna say also, they did take your rights to speak, okay? So you need to get those back right now. Also at this meeting, at the mayoral candidate, at this forum also, Justin Forsman, who is the man running against you, the mayor, sincerely put his hand out to greet you as any good sportsman would, and you declined. You did not shake his hand. Shame on you. So, why does the mayor of Vancouver insist on putting light rail from Portland to Vancouver when all of Clark County has voted 3 times and voted it down? We do not want Portland over here in that form. Another point, why at the Veterans Memorial event at the Fort Vancouver, I'm a veteran, I was there, with hundreds of people from Vancouver, God bless them. And at this site, you did not correct Larry Smith when he introduced you and announced your name as being the teacher of Vancouver children for 28 years. I call that propaganda, and it's a lie. And I'd like you to retract that right now. Correct him right now. It's on record, they can look it up. But I think you guys might have edited it because I looked for it and it might not have been there, but I know people here that heard it. So I'd like you to say right now that you did not teach Vancouver children here for 28 years. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Go back to Oregon. We've got a new mayor coming in. Amen.
So, Ms. Elbon, I will remind you that you have violated the RCW by your actions just now. It is noted here.
Thank you.
You had a
It's in
90-day
public,
suspension, and this will count.
Don't forget October 24th of 2022, last 10 minutes.
Let her talk.
So,
No, she's interrupting me.
Let her talk.
There's no RCW that I cannot speak here like this. Sorry.
you know the policies that we have on Vancouver City?
No, I don't
Council?
actually, they're Marxist.
Are there any other county
trying to rule over
conversations that we
people.
have that we have not? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I am representing the newly formed community group that we are building. We're building a tool library. It's called Vancouver Washington Tool Library. A bunch of us